you all for coming here today. It's for the first grand rounds of 2014. My name is Helen Sorenson, and I'm faculty here at the Health Science Center. I retired, but I'm coming back to teach part-time. I've been a respiratory therapist, which is what I teach. I've been a respiratory therapy instructor for 30 years, both here and in Omaha, Nebraska. About 3 years ago, I was called and asked if I would be interested in being on the board of directors for Christian Senior Services. And I had no idea what Christian Senior Services was, other than Adrienne Linton, who was a nursing faculty here, had been on the board for 6 years, and she recommended me. And we'd gone out to lunch many times, and we were friends, and I thought if Adrienne is interested in that, I'd be interested in that too. So I went to my first meeting and found out what Christian Senior Services was. How many of you know what Christian Senior Services is here in San Antonio? How many of you know what Meals on Wheels is?
Yes.
Okay. How about Grace Place? Have you ever heard of Grace Place?
I've been.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Well, Meals on Wheels and Grace Place and Senior Companions are all programs of Christian Senior Services. Christian Senior Services is kind of the big thing. What really got me interested in participating in this is that both my father and my grandmother had Alzheimer's disease. I have a master's in social gerontology, and even though I've taught respiratory care, my passion has always been geriatrics. So it has been kind of a nice fit to come back to spend some time at Grace Place and work with the people at Grace Place and get a little more involved in some of the things that they do here in San Antonio for our individuals or participants that have Alzheimer's disease. And today we're just here as an information to just give you some information about what Grace Place is in San Antonio. Before I get started, I want to introduce Desiree Drew and have her tell you a little bit about herself.
I'm Desiree. I am the activities director at our Northwest location. We have 3 locations in San Antonio. I was a business major, and I had a job at a nursing home on the weekends as a receptionist, and I fell in love with the patients there. They all had Alzheimer's and dementia in that unit. And I decided I was going to drop out of school and become a nurse. So I was going to be an RN and work with Alzheimer's and dementia patients. And so now I find myself at Grace Place, and I've been there for 3 months. I love my job. I love what I do. It is my job to plan activities throughout the day to keep them active and things like that, and I love it. So, but I'm going to speak about my facility after she's done kind of going through Grace Place.
We're just going to kind of tag team here, so if you have questions, you can ask either one of us the questions. Our objectives today is to review the history of Grace Place and Christian Senior Services in San Antonio, discuss the role of Grace Place in helping families who have loved ones that have Alzheimer's disease, describe some of the activities, and discuss the value of an Alzheimer's daycare to the community at large, which there really is a very, very positive influence on the community if we have some place for our patients with Alzheimer's to go. Grace Place, or Christian Senior Services, was actually founded in 1977 by 2 downtown churches. They had a number of seniors that were in these churches that didn't want to go to a facility, but their family members didn't want them to stay home because they weren't sure that they were going to be safe at home or take care of themselves. They weren't sure about their ability to get the food that they needed or get around. And so in 1977, these 2 downtown churches started what we now know as Christian Senior Services. And the mission was to support seniors who wanted to live at home for as long as possible. The Meals on Wheels and Grace Place were the first 2 programs offered. We have a couple other programs now, but the Meals on Wheels and Grace Place were the first 2. Initially, Grace Place was just started as a day center for seniors. It wasn't specifically Alzheimer's. It was just a place for the seniors to come where they could get a meal, they could have activities, they could be with other seniors, and that satisfied their family members. Grace Place was named because it was located at Grace Lutheran Church. Now, when I first started on the board for Christian Senior Services, the director of Grace Place's name is Grace, and I thought, wow, that's really nice. They named the whole thing after her. It was actually 3 months later that I found out that it wasn't named after Grace. The present day Grace Place, we are the only licensed nonprofit facility for Alzheimer's patients or patients with dementia in the city of San Antonio. The goal again is to support the caregivers and respite. If any of you have had family members with Alzheimer's, you know how very difficult it is to take care of them, and you want them to be safe, but at the same time, if you really want them to be safe, you have to be with them 24/7. And that's just not possible for people. We need to give people an opportunity to have a safe place to take them so the family can go back to work again. The one thing at Grace Place is the activities focus on abilities, not disabilities, and that's one thing that Desiree is going to go over a lot more with you. It's kind of sad, but the past few years we have seen a lot more participants coming in their 50s and 60s. Some of them are post-traumatic stress disorder from the military that have found a safe place to go. But this has really made them change the type of music. They used to play the old music from the 30s and 40s. Now we're playing rock and roll. And it's great because the people are getting up and dancing to it. But this has been a trend that I don't know anybody really expected, to have so many younger people coming in that have dementia now. What they provide at Grace Place, and I'll kind of go over the cost of it later. The snacks are provided in the morning. So if somebody comes in the morning, they can have a snack in the morning. There's lunch at noontime. The location of Grace Place that she's at, the Northwest, is actually the location where all the meals are prepared for Meals on Wheels. So all the people that come to Grace Place there get Meals on Wheels, and I think the others do too. They
do, but the drivers will take it to that location, whereas me,
it's just right there. So they're getting a healthy, nutritious lunch every day, and then they have coffee and snacks in the afternoon. The other day when I went over to talk to Desiree about some things that we were doing, when I pulled into the parking lot, there were 3 gentlemen standing there, and they were looking out the window. And I wasn't real sure until I saw their badges, and I thought, okay, these are participants, and I'm not sure what they're looking for, but they were just looking out the window. So I went and talked to Desiree, and I came back out, and when I went back out, they were kind of standing there looking out the window and watching me, and then one of the aides came out and said, "Coffee time," and they're like, "Oh, okay, that's what we were waiting for," and off they went for coffee time. So, I don't know, when somebody tells me it's coffee break time, I'm pretty usually there too. So it's kind of nice for them. And I just put this picture in there. This is a picture of one of the participants at snack time. And all of the participants have the badges that are on basically a board when they come in the morning. They just put their badge on. So it identifies them and kind of helps the staff so they know their name.
Right, and if they're a DNR, or there's different things that, you know, everybody needs to know within the facility. If they're a fall risk, things like that, that's all on that badge.
Okay. The staff at Grace Place and the cost of it, the staff, each facility has a full-time activity director, and we have 3 facilities right now, 1 northeast, 1 northwest, and 1 central, which is actually downtown. But they each have a full-time activity director, they each have a licensed vocational nurse, and they have activity assistants. And all of the activity assistants are either CNAs or medical assistants. So we have people there that kind of know how to deal with medical things that are going on, but we always have a nurse there too. In case there's a fall, in case there's a question about medication, there's always somebody there. And the other thing that I think is really important is there's bilingual staff at each facility, and Desiree's going to talk a little bit about that too.
Yeah, it's important to have that here in San Antonio. We have a lot of Spanish-speaking clients, and the older ones, you know, they don't know any English. The other day I had a family come in, and she was crying, and I could not communicate with her because I don't know Spanish. And I got one of my CNAs, I was like, "Melda, can you please, you know, speak with her?" And as soon as she could communicate with somebody and connect, she was fine, and she didn't want to leave. And then she was giving us hugs and kisses as she was, you know, leaving with her family, and they got to see that. So then they were more, you know, at ease and were comfortable leaving their mother there. And she'll be starting Monday, I think. She's new. She's from Puerto Rico, and she was able to tell us that she loves cooking and dancing, and, you know, she just told us all kinds of stuff. So, yeah, having bilingual staff is super important here in the city. Yeah.
I didn't realize she said she was Puerto Rican.
Yeah,
My
that's what
husband
she
is too, and my
said.
husband plays sometimes at piano at Grace Place. And he was over there playing the piano one time, and he kind of stopped and he turned around and he asked the people sitting there, he said, "Is anybody from Puerto Rico?" And nobody said anything, and he goes, "Well, I'm going to play a song that was my mom's favorite song." His mom had Alzheimer's too, so he started playing the song, and there was a lady that started singing. And I watched her, she sang every word to that song. And I don't know, maybe she didn't remember she was from Puerto Rico, but she sure remembered the words to that song. And I kind of had a hard time not crying when I saw that, so. The cost is for a half a day, which is less than 5 hours a day, it's $25 a day. And sometimes people will work in the morning, or they just want there's somebody that stays at home with their mom or their dad or their grandmother or grandfather, but they want 4 hours, 2 or 3 days a week to just go and do their shopping or get their hair done or something. And so they'll just kind of use the part-time. Or full day is greater than 5 hours a day, and that's $34. In some circumstances, depending on the family, financial assistance may be available. And compared to home health aides who come into your home and do the same thing at $15 to $18 a day, we feel that Grace Place is a bargain for these families. We like to think of Grace Place as an activity center. And when you hear Desiree talk about all their activities, you'll probably get a little wore out, as you see. She has some show and tell over here to show you too. But one of the things that Grace Place believes strongly in is keeping these people active during the day, not putting them down and not having them take naps. Because if they're active during the day, then they're going to be much more likely to sleep when they go home and not wander, so the family doesn't have to worry about them. So they do keep them very active there. It was designed exclusively for seniors suffering from Alzheimer's disease or dementia. And again, there are 3 locations. This is the one that's closest here in the Northwest, which is just down the road on Babcock. Each of the centers provides a secure and nurturing environment where seniors engage in social interaction with staff and with each other. This is just some stuff that I took off of the brochure. Again, it promotes the dignity and independence of people. You're never forced to do anything at Grace Place. You are encouraged to come and eat with them, but if you don't want to do it, nobody's going to force you to do it. Well, I guess they do have to stay there. We don't let them go out. The doors are locked. They can't go out. But other than that, the adults talk to each other. They find companions that they like. I'm not sure they remember from day to day who their best friend was, but they interact with each other, and it's really nice to see. And I put her picture in there because she's one of my favorite aides there. Again, the purpose is to provide a relief valve for the family, to provide respite for the families. And it doesn't have to be 5 days a week, every day of the week, 12 months out of the year. It can be if the family wants to go someplace on vacation and the neighbor says, yes, I'll watch them during the morning and the evening hours, but during the day I have to go to work. You know, it just provides a relief valve for everybody in the family to have a place that's like Grace Place, that's secure. It does alleviate caregiver stress so they continue caring for their loved ones and avoid or delay need for costly institutional care. One of the things that we have discovered with people coming into Grace Place is that families, for whatever reason, feel like it's their duty to keep these people at home. And they do it out of love. But then sometimes they wait until it's too late to get them into Alzheimer's, into Grace Place. Because in Grace Place, they have to be able to feed themselves, they have to be continent, and they have to be ambulatory and transfer. So we kind of like to encourage the physicians, if they see that this is what's happening in the family, to kind of talk to the family and see if they could find something for them a little bit earlier. Admissions to Grace Place does require diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease or related dementia from the physician. Have to have that order from the physician in order for them to get in there. Again, they must be ambulatory, they must be continent, and they must be able to feed themselves. And this, I think, was either a picture from this Christmas or last Christmas. I went to the Christmas party at Grace Place this year,
Yes.
and I was blown out of the water.
Yeah.
USAA sponsored a Christmas party for all 3 sites. USAA brought the decorations, they brought the food. They found out from somebody at Grace Place about the clients, and each participant got a present. And these were not just little presents for everybody. They gave people shoes in the correct shoe size. Ladies got sweaters, men got hats. They got really nice presents.
Jack got a train set even, I think.
Yes.
One of my clients got a train set, he was so happy.
And I asked one of the people that was there from USAA, I said, how did you do all this? And she smiled, she goes, it's Christmas. We didn't do this, Santa Claus did. They hired a Santa Claus to come in and give the presents to everybody, so we gave, but she said it was just their whole department. Their whole department was, they love doing this, and they kind of vie for each other of who can give the best party, so good for Grace Place. Hours of operation, again, they offer full and half-day schedules. The starting time is open at 7 in the morning until 6 p.m. Monday through Fridays, with the exceptions of holidays, so you can bring them in the morning before you go to work and have time to come and pick them up after you get off work. Because of limited space, on occasion, patients are going to be put on a waiting list. I was asking Desiree about that. The Northwest has a capacity of 40.
Yes.
The downtown has capacity of,
I think 25 or
25.
26 clients, and then Northeast, off Nacogdoches, they can hold up to 56 clients.
so that's the biggest one. But occasionally there will be a wait list, and if there's a wait list, we will contact the physician and do everything we can to try to get them in as soon as possible. Again, the benefits, we've kind of talked about that. Again, if you want to just do it half day, caregivers can return to work, catch up on errands, take a much deserved break. We give them nutritious lunches and snacks with special dietary accommodations. Just within the last 2 months, I believe it was, we received a very generous grant from the Baptist Health System to actually provide special meals for patients who either need gluten-free diets, or they're diabetic, or they need salt-free diets. And it doesn't just extend to Grace Place, it's all of Meals on Wheels. So anybody that has a special diet on Meals on Wheels or at Grace Place, we now have generous funding to provide those special meals for them, which was huge for us. As a nonprofit, we basically depend on volunteers and support from the community. Again, we have professional staff with at least one licensed nurse at each center, and activity schedules focus on the client's abilities rather than disabilities, and here I'm going to let Desiree talk a little bit.
So as I was saying, I am the activities director at the Northwest location, which is on Babcock and 410. Every day I go to work and it's kind of like 50 first dates. I have to make them like me every day. They don't remember me from day to day, some of the clients. So it's a lot of fun. I love what I do. I get to plan activities for my staff and my clients. So our activities, how we do this is we group our clients from like their levels of functioning. We have really, really high functioning clients, and we've got some that are in the middle of being very low and high. So we group them. We've got 4 groups at my location. And then we've got the girls that they kind of separate the groups and they all work on different things. So we provide activities that are appropriate for their group, and then also we focus on what they can do and not on what they can't do. That's a really big thing. We don't want to give somebody, a very low functioning client, a puzzle that they would never know what to do. It will frustrate them, is what ends up happening. We want to limit behaviors in the facility. So these are some of the activities that we do. We do Name That Tune. I have, on Mondays, we do music from the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, and I rotate that weekly. So then they get a variety of music, and they love that. Sometimes they get stuck, they don't know who it is, or they know the name of the song, they don't know who the artist is. We have exercise, so we keep them exercising. Every day we do that. Sing-along, we do that too. That's usually after lunch. We try to get them to wind down after they eat a lunch. And then we have outings for Christmas this year. I took a group downtown to the Presbyterian church, and we listened to the trumpets and the organs play, and they loved it. It was a really nice outing. Storytelling, that is kind of like where we have a group, and this is usually higher functioning clients, and we show them a picture of things going on, and they have to describe to us what they see. And it's almost like they'll come up with some crazy things that they see, and that's a really fun, they like talking. They love that, and they'll all come up with their own little story. Aromatherapy is relaxation time. We take them into a quiet room, and they have soft music that plays, and they put on some oils and stuff to get it to smell really nice in there, and they enjoy that as well. Art therapy, this is Sue Wilson, and she is the one who did this painting here. She is our higher functioning client. I brought one of each. This is kind of like our middle functioning clients here. This is kind of, you'll see a difference in the artwork. But we do let all of them do art. So they all try, to do what they can. Let's see, dancing. Every Tuesday we have a guitarist that comes out. It's Ken Little and Marvin. They come out and they play a lot of country western music and just different songs. And they love that. They like to get up and dance. Music and dancing is probably their favorite thing in my facility ways to do. Crafts. I'm always trying to come up with different activities to do. For Martin Luther King Day, we're going to be doing a dove for peace, and I'm going to have paint, and they're going to use their fingers, and they're going to color in this dove, and it's huge. It's going to be on a huge poster, and then they're going to put their fingerprint and write their name, all of my clients, and I'm going to hang it up, and it's going to represent peace and just symbolism,
Here.
That's what we're doing tomorrow morning. Oh, yeah. I have a picture I just kind of I got from online. So this is kind of what it looks like. It's really cute. And there's their fingerprints down at the bottom. So we'll be working on that tomorrow morning. And then next week we're going to be working on eggshell pendants, which are really beautiful, simple to make. But I always try to keep things going because my girls, they love that, the staff. They enjoy doing little crafts.
I just have a question,
Yeah.
just because I'm a physician and we sometimes suggest senior centers to patients, but sometimes the patients just by nature have never been very sociable and they are kind of don't like interacting. So I just wonder how you deal with patients who kind of are antisocial.
No, and that's a great question because we get that. And
Yeah.
usually, and they might be more to themselves the first week, but what happens is I'm very good, well, I'm taking credit with the girls, the staff, we're really good about partnering them with somebody else who will right away take to them, or they come around. A lot of people don't want to be there. They just don't even want to come into the facility.
And they say, well, I'm not old,
but once they're there, this is the
Yeah.
thing, once they're in the facility and they're, socializing again.
It's so important.
They really take to it. They enjoy it, and a lot of this is families. I have a sister, and when they brought her into me, they told me, oh, she can't even see the sign outside that says Alzheimer's. Oh, forget about it. So they would bring her around the building, through the back, and she left one day, and this was the second day she left out the front door, and she's aware, she's higher functioning, but she is fine. She says to me, I love being here. I don't mind coming. I want to help and do. She's like, but don't let them be late for me. That's her only thing. Yeah, she gets so angry. If they're not there at 3, forget about it. She's like, I won't come back. So she tells the other sisters, I'm not coming back if you don't pick me up.
Because sometimes we get
But you know what, and a lot of
they
it's
don't wanna
families
go,
too. The
and-
families feed into it.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, they tell their children, I don't want to be there. I don't want to go. I'm not ready for a place like that. And so then the kids feed into that instead of saying, let's just try it.
Right.
That is the #1 step, is just to try it. Because then, once they make a friend, they have something to look forward to. They're not home flipping through channels, napping all day, and then the family complains that they don't sleep at night, right? So that is my biggest goal, is to keep them going all day. I just want to keep them active. We usually switch out activities every 30 minutes. We try to, because their attention span's not very long. So we just try to keep it going all day. That's what I tell families when they come in, I want them to go home and feel like I'm ready for dinner in bed.
Right.
That's what we want. That's our goal.
I met Sister
Oh yeah.
when I
she's
came
so
over for the
sweet.
Christmas party. And I was kind of standing there and kind of back where the staff was, and she came back and I was talking to her, and at first, because she's quite high functioning, she was asking me if I was a teacher, and I said yes, and she was telling me that she was a teacher. And then Grace came in and kind of tugged and said, she's a participant here, and I'm like, oh, okay, but she said, but she doesn't know she's a participant, she thinks she's a worker here, so
She's a
we have to make her
volunteer.
feel that she is part of this. So we let her come back here, and then when it came time for Santa Claus to hand out the Christmas presents, they put her in charge. So the staff would bring the person up, and then one of the aides would find the present, and then they would give it to her, and then she would give it to the patient with
She
Santa
was the
Claus,
patient
so
the
she
whole
was
time.
helping the whole time. But I honestly, in visiting with her for the first minute or so, was wondering who she was. I thought maybe she was just a volunteer from USAA that had come in to help us.
And that's also another great way of getting them in, is not telling them that they're going to be left at some center. They are volunteers, and we will, kind of have them help out with handing out silverware, because we don't, like Meals on Wheels at lunchtime, we don't serve it in the tray. We put it on a dish with silverware, like a dinner style. So, but they help out, and that's a great way also to present it, is you're going to be a volunteer, they need help with the seniors or something. So we have musicians that come in and volunteer. I have a trumpet player, she comes in every Friday, and the clients love that. We have a piano at all different locations have a piano. So the iPod shuffles, that's something that we incorporated in around Christmas time. We have clients that are younger, and they like to, if they don't want to participate in an activity, and we don't force them to, they can sit down and listen to their country music. Or I have a client, he doesn't really talk. He doesn't speak really, but if he listens to country music, he'll sing. He sings along with it. So those are really great for that. This is my biggest thing. I always tell family members about this. We do have a support group that meets every Saturday, the second Tuesday. The second Saturday of every month. Sorry, it's the second Saturday of every month. It's designed to help caregivers. So basically, this support group is other caregivers who are going through the same thing, and they kind of talk about how their month has gone. Well, so-and-so's not doing as good as they were last month, or they give each other pointers on how to handle behaviors. I get family members that come in all the time, my dad does this, and I just, but the families can help share ideas on how to go about redirecting and things like that. So I always tell families, this is free, it's a free service, it's the second Tuesday of every month, so if you guys have clients that you think might benefit from that, you're more than welcome to have them come over.
And you said it's at 10?
It's at 10 a.m.
And it's at the Northwest facility right down
on Babcock and 410. Yeah. Double your joy and divide your grief. That is exactly what we do in there. I would also like to just invite you guys out to my facility so you can see how it is. You can always come and just kind of look around, take a tour. That way you know what it is that we do. So then we have brochures. I have cards and things like that. If you guys have questions, we'll have a question and answer after the presentation. But we have all that here too. So if you need anything to take with you, I'll get this started.
Just a quick question. How does the Christian, I know it's nonprofit, but how do they, maintain all this? Like, what is their source of funding?
The source of funding is a lot of donations that we are given from the community. A lot of people donate to Meals on Wheels, and then when they find out about Grace Place, they donate. The cost of being there, the 25 for half day and the 35, basically just kind of covers the expensive. We don't really make money from that. But like the grant we got from Baptist Health System, and there's another slide that I put in here, we just got a very, very generous $100,000 grant from Impact San Antonio. And they're going to use that to do some remodeling.
Yes.
So
I know I'm getting cabinets house, and they're gonna move my office. I'm so
Well, the
excited.
VA, the contract of DayCare, this is one of the places they go.
Oh, is it? I was
Yeah.
just gonna ask that.
Because
The
one
VA
of
is a
my
contract.
patients,
Absolutely,
I
they
signed
have
the
all
form
those
saying.
documents
That's
that
good
you
to
so you
know.
can take them with
Yeah.
you. I've got some that are ACOG and VA.
Oh, that's great, Jeanette, because like we refer and I usually don't know like what, yeah, I don't really know anything about the place that the VA contracts with, but now we've seen it, so
Yeah,
now I
and
have
come
more
out.
knowledge.
You should
Thank you.
definitely come out and
Because
just take a look.
I have patients that in families are a little, you know, they're hesitant, they don't know.
And that's very
Yeah.
common because they feel the need, this is their responsibility.
Right,
You know, a lot of them, it's really hard, and then by the time that they realize, oh, well, maybe they need to go somewhere, it's kind of like long-term care, almost.
yeah.
And we really want them, we want to enjoy them, right, before they get to that point. We want to enjoy them and keep whatever skills they do have, keep them, you know, tuned
Right.
and going. So are you guys ready for the video? Let me turn this on. Okay, just do it, it's too loud.
Being a caregiver for a loved one with Alzheimer's or similar dementia can place an incredible strain on your emotional and physical well-being. The painful loss you feel is made worse when you realize your loved one can no longer be left at home alone. Caregivers can suddenly find themselves with less time to manage their household, hold down a job, or even take care of their own health needs. Some caregivers are fortunate enough to have a family member to help out, but for others, there's simply no one to help them.
I'm a caregiver for my husband. We've been married 58 years, and the last 6 years is he has developed dementia. And I just take one day at a time, and whatever the good Lord gives me is I just do.
I'm a caregiver to my mom, Luisa Rodriguez. My brother and I are both caregivers for her. My mom lives here with my brother in San Antonio, and I live in Germany. The biggest change I've seen with caring for somebody with Alzheimer's is you have to revolve your schedule around them. And I don't have children of my own, but for my friends that have children, my coworkers that have children, I would think it's the same experience. That you have to put, a lot of times, your own needs secondary to their needs.
Life can become very challenging for a caregiver, and studies have shown that depression and health problems are common in those caring for a loved one with Alzheimer's or dementia. This is why Christian Senior Services is proud to sponsor Grace Place, San Antonio's only licensed adult day activity center specializing in dementia. Our goal is to alleviate stress by providing an affordable and safe environment so that families impacted by this disease can continue living a normal life. At Grace Place, your loved one can participate in stimulating activities throughout the day that focus on their unique needs and abilities. Under the supervision of friendly, certified staff and nurses, adults with Alzheimer's spend the day interacting with other seniors, which can lead to positive changes in the lives of our clients.
I think they need the routine challenges every day. I think it's great, and they have a lot of programs there. And just the other day, they had a church come by with sing-along, and all these clients sing. And it's just wonderful, the programs that they have to encourage the people to participate.
From my point, in my brother's point of view, we know she has a piece to go through during the day. She's not sitting at home by herself. She's got people she can interact with. And I've seen such a dramatic improvement. She's positive, she's happy. Of course, that reflects back on us. The better she's doing, the easier it is for us. Taking her to Grace Place gives you that sense to be able to catch your breath. Yeah, it is a little bit of, it is a relief to know that, okay, I don't have to worry about things like that. I can concentrate on work. I can concentrate on the other things I need to do. And she's in a good facility. She's in a good place. You can recharge. You can kind of pull back a little bit, catch your breath, and then be able to go back and say, okay, regroup, and then move forward again.
After I take him to Grace Place, I know that he's being taken care of. I can go do what I want to. I have no worries about when I leave him at Grace Place. And when I pick him up, the caregivers are really super. I mean, I can't talk enough good about Grace Place and the caregivers.
At the end of the day, she's happy. She's positive. She's had a good day. She's done activities during the day. She's done some exercises. She's talked to other people. She's listened to music. She's played games. And you can see that just that spark is back in your eyes. Now she has a feeling of belonging someplace. Maybe not so much physical, but it's definitely mental and definitely spiritual. Those are the positive changes that I've seen.
Didn't want to take him because I couldn't let him go. And I cried first time I took him. It's just like taking your child to school. But now I can take him and be at peace. You know, there are wonderful people there. And they greet him all the time. The caregivers are really, the whole staff has been wonderful.
With 3 locations now serving Northwest, Northeast, and downtown San Antonio, Grace Place is an affordable option for caregivers seeking relief and managing their day-to-day responsibilities. In some cases, families may even qualify for financial assistance. If you're a caregiver living in Bexar County, know that Grace Place is here for you. For more information, please contact any one of our 3 locations.
The last couple slides, just really wanted to talk about the value to the community of this. When my father was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, my mother took care of him. He was older and he didn't walk very good, so she didn't really have to worry about him wandering too much. And it was kind of a good thing that she took care of him. But then she was diagnosed with an acute form of leukemia, and this was back in the 80s where we didn't really have much to help them. She was diagnosed in June, she died in August. And then after that, my sister, who was a nurse, took my dad and took him to Oklahoma to live with her. And both her and her husband were employed at that time, and my brother-in-law gave up a good job as a salesperson to go to work at McDonald's, because he could go to McDonald's at 5:30 in the morning and set things up and clean floors and be home by 11 o'clock so that my sister could go to work the afternoon shift as a nurse. So they had 2 coming, you know, they still had 2 salaries, although it wasn't as much as before. They had enough that they could deal with. But it really took a toll on them. And now my sister is showing signs of dementia also. We just moved them into a senior community in Lawrence, Kansas. And if Alzheimer's is where she's going, she could go from independent to assisted to Alzheimer's care, so we're real happy where they are right now. But it just, if only there had been something in Oklahoma like Grace Place for them to go to, it would have been better. And you know, even the daughters, neither one of the daughters ever got married. And it's been really difficult on the family, and even though it was just 4 years of her taking care of Dad, it was hard on them. And I really wish there would have been something like this for them. The reduced cost to the community at large is one of the big benefits of this. If we can keep people employed in their jobs and have, you know, Alzheimer's is not that uncommon anymore. This was a copy of the check. This is our executive director and the president of the board of directors right now. But it's stuff like this that, you know, we're so excited about going on because the community is supporting us. And that's why we wanted to come here today, just to talk to you, to let you know, give you information if you didn't know how to contact Grace Place. And we'll be happy to answer any questions we haven't answered already.
Yeah, you guys have questions?
Yes.
How closely do you work with the Alzheimer's Association?
Oh, I refer to them all the time. I actually have a facilitators meeting coming up this month. For the group meetings and things like that, they are the ones who like sponsor that. They pretty much give us the support. All the information packets I normally get, I always get from them, but I always give them out to families that come in to tour. You'd be surprised how many families don't know what Alzheimer's is. They come in thinking mom and dad's going to be okay. I've had families tell me this. Oh, you'll be fine in a couple months. These just go, you know, they're in denial, I guess. I'm not sure, but I hand them a packet that the Alzheimer's Association gives to me. I'll give them a packet, some pamphlets, just to kind of inform them, you know, that sometimes it's probably not going to get better, you know, and getting them in that's the hardest part, is just letting them know that, you know, mom and dad kind of needs to be here with us. So
One of the things we had talked about was getting some extra funding to buy enough of, I don't know if you've ever seen the book, The 36-Hour Day. It's a wonderful book, and we'd like to be able to give one to each, one of the people that come to the support group, but right now we haven't quite figured out how we're going to do that yet. But that was one that, actually when my mom was diagnosed with leukemia, my other sister, who was a nurse, sent her 2 teenagers to live with me, and I had 3 teenagers, so there were 5 teenagers out in Iowa with me, and she spent time with mom and dad. She was dealing with mom dying from leukemia and dealing with dad's Alzheimer's at the same time. And she said, had it not been for that book, she probably would have lost her mind, because, I mean, she's a PhD in psychology, but had not really done anything with Alzheimer's before, and she said that really helped her figure out how to cope. Every day was a little bit different.
do you guys have any questions?
We do have, this is a sample of what we provide to physicians if they want them. We call it a prescription form, but it's just something you can give to the families and say, here, if you're interested in Grace Place, here's the 3 locations and here's the phone number where you can call. It's not the doctor saying you have to do this, it's just a suggestion from the doctor. And then we have a couple of these brochures also, which have the map of where the different places are. And anything you want here, help yourself. We have these also. We just, we like people to know about us.
I've got the paper for the VA and ACOG funding here. So if you guys would like one of those, you can.
Oh, and she has her card
And my
on that,
card's
too.
on here, so if you ever need to call me.
And I'm at the Health Science Center, just Sorenson, Bethesda, at EDU. Apparently I'm either the first one or the only Sorenson here, so I have a pretty easy email address. Thank you very much.
Hopefully everybody signed in, and don't forget to fill out your emails for today's conference.
I mean, I like the setup.
Happy New Year.
It is on our website.
Great
Thank
job.
you so much. I don't think you'll.
Thanks for coming.
Oh,